Hi folks, welcome back to the Hoard. So it's a little after 5 o'clock on Valentine's Day Eve. That means it's the day before Valentine's Day, which makes it Friday the 13th. So, welcome back to the Hoard. I had to go out this afternoon. I worked last night, then I had to go out this afternoon, run a few errands. And I gotta tell you, every character who ever crashed a car on their way to buying Valentine's Day candy for their loved one is out doing their best to crash a car and take you with them today. Quite a zoo everywhere I went. Finally it stopped snowing, but it only warmed up to 20 degrees, so it really didn't melt. A little bit in the sun melted, but not much of anything really. Anyway, today's topic, I've seen a few videos on inverters, those things that turn 12 volts into 120 volts. And over the years, I've picked up several, like more than 10 inverters. And I was just, while the discussion's going on, I just wanted to kind of run some of these inverters by the guys who know something about inverters and see what they think. Some of them are somewhat modern, some of them are antiques, some of them might even amuse you. I mean, like this guy, right? It's a wagon tech, WAGAN, wagon tech, 150 watt, 300 watt maximum, pure sine wave. I don't know, that's what it looks like. It's got a fan on it, right? Made in Taiwan. There's the serial number. I mean, what would one do with an inverter like this? One would consider this valuable enough to run something on, or one would be afraid to use it for anything because the power it produces is not very good. I don't know, but that's an example of one. And let's go through the assortment of small ones and then work our way up to the bigger stuff. Porter watts, 300. I don't know, power anywhere. Seems to have more fins on the side, which is nice. I mean, there's some words on it that aren't coming in focus. There you go. So don't plug it in backwards. Designed in Canada, assembled in China. I worked with some Canadian engineers, really good folks. So I don't know. Would you run anything on it? This one says it's 200 watts, motor trend, so no real brand name. 200 watts continuous, 400 watts peak. I mean, this thing weighs nothing. This is all plastic, right? It's not metal. Even the bottom's plastic. Given that the whole thing's plastic, I wouldn't think it would drain the heat out very well. I don't know. I would be suspicious of it. I mean, other small ones. I think this one's dead. Doesn't look very healthy. Something else similar. It's a Black & Decker. Right, supposedly this thing is good for, I don't know, what's it good for? It was cost all of $10. Says it's good for 100 watts. Oh, could you guys see that? I mean, these are the kind of things you kind of like keep in your car and plug your computer in. Are they good enough for that? Bell equipment, Southern Bell, 50 watt. Paid $3 for this one. or less. So that's kind of in the land of small. Then we got some antiquers, right? Trip light. I don't know what this thing is good for, 100 watts or so. What does it say? Right there, 150 watts. There appears to be a couple of these. It says square wave. Doesn't say how many. Oh, it's probably 100 watts. It says it's a something 100. Yeah, it's 100 watts. I don't know. Are these old trip lights any good? Right? I mean, they just put out a square wave. Strikes me as if whatever you're running on them is going to get hot, right? Power isn't very clean. That'll make everything run hot. Then we go up to, there's another trip light. This one's theoretically good for 1,000 watts. Oh, could you guys see it without my head in the shadow? This one's never been used. I gotta tell you, it weighs a ton. I don't know, if an inverter weighs more, does that make it better? I can't answer the question. That's why I'm showing you guys these inverters. Stay. Then we get these. I've picked up a little more recently. Black & Deckers. I don't know. They're supposedly good for 1,000 watts. I mean, are these any good? Are they worth using? Are they going to burn up my electronics? So I got 2 of these. Then I ended up with one of these from a few years ago. I had a gift card for Harbor Freight, obviously. I don't think they make this anymore. It's an older version. I mean, is this one pretty good or is this crap? I mean, it would not be very cool, right? Supposedly this is good for 2,000 watts continuous. So I can easily plug my 50-inch plasma in this thing, right? That uses, I don't know, 300 watts or something like that. With the cable box and everything else, it all uses less than 500 watts. Well within this 2,000 watt limit. Would it, I mean, is it okay to run that stuff on this, or is it going to hurt it? Do I have to go to pure sine wave stuff? I'm asking the question, and I'm wondering if, you know, maybe I should get my what is that, kilowatt meter, and come up with, you know, for something like this, 1,000 watt load, and plug it into the kilowatt meter and make sure I have plenty of power going into this thing, a few batteries worth, and I don't know, start powering things up and see what the kilowatt meter shows me. Maybe I should also pop for that portable oscilloscope I've been meaning to get and start looking at the wave output as I put a load on it. For some reason in my head, and maybe I'm using electrical engineering training that's outdated, but something that's really heavy because it's got transformers in it, I would picture that putting out better power, right? Because you're switching on the transistors, which have a tendency to give you a kind of a square wave, and then you kind of run it through a transformer, which I would think would give you a nice round wave. And this thing weighs a ton. This thing probably weighs, I don't know, 25 pounds. I mean, it weighs almost as much as all of them put together. Other than these, I also I showed them a while ago, quite a while ago. They're kind of buried over here with some other stuff. But I have a couple of ones from the railroad that claim to be good for 400 watts. But they're heavy, like the trip light ones. They claim to be good, once again, for 400 watts. They take 24 volts to run them, and they're made by Exide, EXIDE, you know, the battery people. I'm not going to dig them out here. I don't know if they're those blue cases or the black case or the gray cases that are over there. They were taken out of railroad juice. Strikes me as if they should be pretty solid, right? If the railroad uses them to run signals. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think of this pile of inverters. If you were to say, you know, what's good, what's bad. I guess my criteria for an inverter is what I want to run my pellet stove, let's say. So I want to slam something up to, you know, a 12 volt source and run my pellet stove indefinitely. The pellet stove basically has a timer board in it that turns the auger on and off. Turns the auger on and off more frequency if you're trying to get more heat, less frequency if you're just not trying to get that much heat, right? So you got that. The auger motor is basically a AC induction motor. The fan motors, there's two of them. One that runs the blower for the combustion pot, and one runs the blower to circulate the air. If the stove's running in a steady state condition, it uses about 80 watts, and it appears, I don't notice it bouncing around on my kilowatt gauge when it goes to feed pellets. And which also kind of makes sense, right? If you got two fans turning, and even though you have a relay clicking on and off, turning on another fan, I'm going to use the word completely improperly, inductive momentum, I guess, would perhaps cancel out the relay clicking on and off and turning the auger on and off. They also have the auger gear down quite a bit, and the motor isn't very big that turns the auger, so it probably just doesn't use much power, because once again it doesn't seem to affect my kilowatt gauge. So anyway, if you guys were to talk about these, the Chicago Electric, and there might be another one of those floating around somewhere, I seem to remember a second one. I mean, the big trip light, the antique trip lights. I've used those antique trip lights on fans, that's all. Oh, almost missed this one. Power to go, 1000 watts, 2000 watts. This one I bought used. And that's the panel it has on it. I know, the better the panel, the prettier. Let me know what you guys think of these things. Other than I'm crazy for owning so many of them. What happens is I'll have in my mind that I want to get an inverter, and I'll get a deal on one, $3, $5, $10, whatever. And so you kind of pick it up, and then I'll be like, well, it's nice to have a 100-watt inverter, but what am I going to do with that? And though it does find purposes running a radio or something small, you know, gradually you say, well, I'd like a little more power. I mean, I think when I picked this one up, I think I gave the guy like $10 for it, and it's never been used. So when I went to carry it, I figured it was worth almost that much in scrap. These guys were typically, you know, $5 or $10. Obviously, the Chicago Electric, you know, Harbor Freight, I probably picked that up. I think for one of them I had a gift certificate. I was really hot to get an inverter, so I bought it, and you can see how important it was to me. I've never used it. And then the second one, to be honest, I'm not quite sure how I ended up with the second one. Once again, I probably didn't pay much for it, and probably thought I was getting a steal of a deal, and that's how I got it. Maybe I even bought it off of somebody. Maybe it was new in the box, but unused, a flea market type deal. This guy, I don't know. It's used. I guess what you do is you plug them in, power them up, put a load on them, and if you don't see smoke and the kilowatt gauge is saying nice things, you get all happy. Anyway, folks, thanks for watching and commenting and subscribing. Sorry to my brother with a different motor that run the video so long. Hopefully you got up and got something to drink and came back. Remember to keep your feet down, keep your head up, and remember to enjoy all your days, even if it means hoarding inverters. Take care, folks. Bye now.